After nearly a decade of anticipation, Lost Soul Aside is finally in our hands. What started as a solo project by developer Bing Yang in 2014 became a viral sensation thanks to a jaw-dropping trailer. That video caught the attention of millions, and the gaming world immediately started comparing it to Final Fantasy XV and Devil May Cry. Over the years, the project expanded into a full studio effort, backed by Sony and PlayStation promotions. The hype was real. Gamers dreamed of a new action RPG that could sit proudly next to the big names, but hype is a dangerous thing. Now that the dust has settled, the question is, did Lost Soul Aside live up to its promise? In this review, we'll dive into the story, combat, world design, and performance. To really understand Lost Soul Aside, you need to know where it came from. Back in 2016, the game was shown as a one-man project built in Unreal Engine 4. That trailer was so polished that many people didn't even believe it was real. Sony quickly backed the project, and the indie dream became something bigger. For years, we saw snippets, flashy trailers with incredible combat sequences, teasers at PlayStation showcases, and promises of a game that would rival AAA titles despite its indie roots. Naturally, expectations grew. Fans thought this could be the next Final Fantasy, a small underdog project rising to challenge the big names in the industry. But as we've seen with other hype projects, No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk 2077, expectations can make or break a game's reception. And Lost Soul Aside definitely suffers from being weighed down by its own hype. The story centers on Kaiser, a reluctant swordsman who bonds with Irina, a crystal-like creature that grants him incredible power. Together, they're pulled into a war they didn't ask for, with stakes that span nations and empires. It's a classic reluctant hero setup with potential, but the execution, uneven at best. Kaiser is your standard brooding protagonist, serious, quiet, and unfortunately not very memorable. Irina, his symbiotic partner, offers some banter and comic relief, but their dynamic never evolves into something truly engaging. Their relationship pales compared to pairs like 2B and 9S in Nier Automata, or Clive and Cid in Final Fantasy XVI. Side characters come and go quickly, often acting as little more than plot devices. Dialogue feels rushed, and emotional beats rarely land the way they should. The narrative is fragmented, giving you pieces of lore without ever fleshing out the bigger picture. The world looks fascinating, a fusion of futuristic technology and high fantasy, but it feels like window dressing. The lore is vague, the history underdeveloped, and you're left with the sense that the game is more interested in looking epic than in telling a truly epic story. Combat is the crown jewel of Lost Soul Aside. If you've seen the trailers, you know what to expect. Fast-paced anime action, weapon transformations, and stylish combos that look incredible in motion. At first, the system is exhilarating. You dash around enemies, teleport through attacks, and string together long combos that make you feel unstoppable. Arena adds variety, transforming into different weapons mid-fight. A sword, a spear, ranged projectiles, keeping the action fluid. But once the honeymoon period fades, problems start to show. Beneath the flash, the combat is surprisingly shallow. Enemy AI is simplistic, relying on predictable attack patterns. Outside of bosses, fights can feel repetitive, with the same combos working again and again. Boss fights are designed to be set pieces, big cinematic showdowns. Some are thrilling, forcing you to master dodges and counters. Others are frustrating, dragged down by inconsistent hitboxes and a camera that just can't keep up. In tight arenas, the camera becomes your worst enemy, swinging wildly and robbing fights of precision. If I had to compare it, Lost Soul Aside feels like a diet version of Devil May Cry. It has the spectacle, but not the depth. You're rewarded for looking stylish, but you're not really challenged to master the mechanics, the way other top-tier action games demand. Outside of combat, you'll spend time exploring the world. The game opts for semi-open zones, areas large enough to look expansive, but ultimately funneling you along a set path. The environments are gorgeous at first glance. Rolling fields, glowing forests, futuristic ruins, but they don't offer much beyond eye candy. Side quests exist, but they're repetitive fetch or kill tasks with little story attached. Optional bosses and collectibles give you reasons to explore, but none of it feels meaningful. Compared to the layered design of Elden Ring, or even the dense exploration of Xenoblade Chronicles, Lost Soul Aside feels shallow. It looks alive, but rarely feels alive. Exploration becomes downtime between battles rather than an exciting part of the experience. One thing Lost Soul Aside does nail is presentation. Visually, it's stunning. Character models are detailed, particle effects explode across the screen, and the blend of sci-fi and fantasy aesthetics is striking. This is a game built to look good in trailers, and in that sense, it succeeds. But technically, it's less consistent. On PS5, the game targets 60 FPS, but heavy fights often cause frame drops. Texture pop-in, clipping issues, and occasional crashes hurt immersion. Load times also feel dated compared to other modern releases. The soundtrack is solid, with sweeping orchestral scores during combat and softer tracks for downtime. It's effective, but not particularly memorable. You won't be humming the music afterward. Voice acting is a weak link. The English dub is stiff, with flat deliveries that drag down emotional scenes. The Chinese dub fares better, but even then, the script doesn't give the actors much to work with. Dialogue often comes across as clunky exposition, rather than organic storytelling. So, after all this time, was Lost Soul Aside worth the wait? That depends. If you just wanted a flashy action RPG where you can pull off anime-style combos and enjoy some jaw-dropping visuals, then yes, you'll find fun here. There are moments where the game feels exhilarating, and it's impossible not to admire the ambition behind it. But if you were hoping for a new masterpiece, a game to redefine the action RPG genre, then no. The story is weak, the characters forgettable, the combat shallow, and the world underdeveloped. Technical issues only add to the frustration. At the end of the day, Lost Soul Aside feels like a game stuck between two identities: the passion project it started as, and the big budget blockbuster it wanted to become. It's caught in the middle, and the result is something impressive but flawed. My verdict? Lost Soul Aside is a stylish but uneven action RPG, worth checking out if you love spectacle but not the genre-defining hit we all hoped for. For me, it's a 6 out of 10 fun in bursts, but ultimately forgettable. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more deep dive gaming breakdowns. See you next time.